Welcome to another unboxing from theplayersaid.com. This is Grant. Today I'm unboxing my brand new copy of Here I Stand, Wars of the Reformation 1517 through 1555. For those that don't know, Here I Stand is a political, military, as well as diplomacy game set in 16th century Europe, between the major powers, the Reformation, where everyone was kind of fighting it out to get things their way. This game was, I believe, originally designed in 2006. I think there was a reprint in 10 or 2011. And this year, GMT decided with the 500th anniversary of the Reformation coming up. In fact, that 500th anniversary was just a few days ago, October the 31st of 2017, they decided to release a deluxe edition. So it had been up on P500 as I think, third edition reprinting. But about 6 or 8 months ago, sometime, early this year, maybe even late last year in 2016, GMT decided to offer the deluxe edition. And if you're familiar with their deluxe editions, with games such as 1846, Conquest of Paradise, they really do a great job with their deluxe editions. They kind of redo the rule books, they update them with all errata, error fixes and changes, redo the components, make them even better than they normally are, make sure the games have hard mounted maps. So this is the deluxe edition, what I have here, designed by Ed Beach. This is actually a kind of based on, I'm not sure if it's very, very similar, but the old SPI game, A Mighty Fortress. So I have never played that, but I am aware of that game. This game in the deluxe edition, you'll notice right here, says it actually includes a two-player variant, which allows 2 players to play the game. Normally this is designed for 3 to 6 players. It can be really hard to find 3 to 6 players to sit down for 5 to 6 hours, and that's kind of what the play time is. I think if you're new, you're talking 6 to 8 hours for a full campaign. But anyway, very excited about this. Looks great. Great box. GMT always does a fantastic job. Let me go ahead and turn it over, and I've already pre-ripped it. But you can see here on the bottom, just a little more detail. I do know in this game, they not only integrated in the deluxe edition, integrated some of the rules for the various errata. They also added some new cards, some new personalities. We'll probably see those in the game itself, but added some new cards. I think they updated some other cards. Man, this is heavy. I'm having trouble holding it up. Updated some cards. Also changed some of the rules, I think, regarding some of the other elements, but once again, I've read about this, I've gotten it, I don't know everything about the game. Yeah, there we go. The game's lineage includes both SPI's A Mighty Fortress from 1977 and the Napoleonic Wars from 2002. This is a card-driven game with point-to-point movement. I love CDGs. They allow for the integration of historical events and historical happenings into the gameplay itself. I really like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and there's kind of an overview look at the map. We'll get a look at it. I'm going to go ahead and rip it open. But man, I was struggling there to hold this box up. I'm going to guess this weighs nearly 10 pounds. I don't have a scale, but if I practiced every day, did some weightlifting with that, I would probably get some more tone and development. But that's a discussion for another day. Don't let my wife hear you say that I said that. Let's take the box off. Great looking box. As always with GMT. Here's the rule book. I found online, I think from C3I magazine, gosh, I want to say 10 years ago. They had a Learn Here I Stand in 20 minutes. I printed that off, because I do not own that magazine. But I'm going to read that this weekend. I don't know when we're going to get to play this. But you can see this rule book's pretty dense. Small text. There are about The rule book itself is 40 44 pages. There's also a record, victory record sheet printed on the back. Most of the end, I think, is, as I look at that, no, these are rules too. A lot of times at the end of the books or the rule books, they kind of give a lot more details on the different cards used. Here's some history and just some better explanation of each of the powers. You're going to be able to control powers from France, headed by Henry VIII, obviously the Ottoman Empire, and others. So they all have, it's asymmetric, they all have different victory conditions, different ways to work towards their victory. Some are better at other things. Here's an example, piracy. I know the Ottoman Empire has corsair ships. You can see them there in the diagram, but they can kind of raid that Barbary coast and cause havoc and really affect. But this has naval, it has land assaults, sieges. It is point-to-point movement. So it's kind of cool. There's a look at the action phase. I'm really excited about this. This rule book's going to take a while to digest. There's diplomacy. Here in the rule book, it talks about diplomacy. The turn, here's the cards, some look at the counters. And you got to remember, in the 16th century, they did have muskets, they did have cannon and gunpowder. So this is going to be a pretty interesting battle game. It's kind of that pike and musket era, so it should be really interesting. But there's a look at the rule book. Simple, well put together rule book. And then, of course, they have a scenario book. It's going to give you scenarios and setup. You've got a 1517 scenario, a 1532 scenario. There's also a tournament scenario. And then I think you can do the entire campaign, and maybe that's the 1517 one. But there you can see they've got an example of play. I'm going to go ahead and flip to that. That is something I definitely will be breaking out. Here's one thing I love about GMT games, one of the reasons we play war games and historical simulations, is you get to learn a lot about history. Look at all this detail on these different personalities that were involved in the Wars of the Reformations or were alive and doing their thing at that time. Obviously, Martin Luther and others had the religious side, but there were other things going on, explorations, science was challenging long-held beliefs. So a lot of different, here's the two-player designer notes there on the back. So a lot of detail. Two-player variant introduction right there, you can read that. So that's one I'm excited about. Once again, it's going to be hard for us to find 4 to 6 friends to play this. So Alexander and I will most likely be sitting down. And I'm assuming when you do two-player, you might control more than one nation. So that'll be interesting in and of itself. That's a scenario book. Here we have some player cards outlining the different nations. You have, once again, I talked about France. These are really nice card stock. Shows your setup for the different scenarios there on the back. Very helpful. But you can see there's France, England, Henry VIII. Henry VIII, I am, right? Habsburgs, you've got the Protestants, the Ottoman Empire, the papacy, and those are the 6 factions that you can control. So nice looking player cards, like the quick setup guides there on the back. I think that's a nice touch. It will help make you be able to get in and play the game quickly. These are religious struggle cards. You can see there the title at the top. That's a single-sided sheet, but you can see this is tracking the religious part of the game, where you're going to be fighting against each other to change ideas and thoughts regarding religion. You can see there's different elements like debate. There's actual reformation. So you're in essence going to be fighting wars of religion where you're actually rolling dice. There's going to be, you can see there's kind of modifiers there. Tells you what the results are at the end. And that's going to decide these tracks and help you move that game along. Here are player aids. Looks like there's Yeah, there's only 2 of those, but a very nice player aid. You've got some easy to see when certain units or troops or personalities are going to come in. You've got a sequence of play here on the left, very detailed. So you have 2 of those, and they're really nice looking. They also have a double side or a second side. These are the aids for the 2-player game only. So it's going to modify that slightly. But once again, one of the keys to me to playing a war game or a difficult, deep simulation game is understanding the rules by using your player aid. So these player aids, this is a second player aid kind of summarizing your actions. You can see you can move, naval move and marching. You can buy mercenaries, raise troops, build ships. You can assault. You can explore, colonize, conquer. Here at the bottom, here's kind of the religious side. You can translate scripture, publish treatise, like the 95 Thesis, call for a theological debate, build St. Peter's Cathedral, etc., etc. Burn books. Kind of interesting. Really excited about this game, and I think these are once again a great example of what GMT does with their player aids. They really do an excellent job of helping people understand how to play. So it looks like included in my copy here is an errata counter sheet. So this is a half counter sheet, and you can see there at the top, Section 1, 2010 errata counter sheet. So you could have bought, and you still can buy, what's called the update kit. I think the pre-order P500 price was, I want to say $30, $35, and it's like $50, but you're going to get these counters that are errata. So that's a good thing. I'll throw those over there. Quite a few sheets of counters. I think there's 4 of them. You can see 4 full sheets of counters. These counters remind me a lot of counters like Wilderness War. They have the round counters for units. These are control markers. Here's some of the different personalities, which are your leaders. Here you can see you have boats and other personalities. But let's get a look at those. Really nice detail on those counters. We're looking there at some French muskets, cannon, as well as pikemen or footmen. There you have Venetian, and the red is sorry, you can't quite see it. Red is England. So here you have the Habsburg or yellow, Protestant or brown. And these are great counters. Very easy to remove. You can see they're well made. They're thick. GMT counters don't seem to have the burr problem when you pop them out of the sprue, as some other counters that I've experienced lately. That, for me, who's anal retentive, is a good thing, but I like that silhouette of the cannon there. And interesting, you can pop that right back in. I do have some trays. I'm going to have to break these out and put those in. Wanted to give you a look at these ships. These don't seem to pop out as easy, and you're going to have to clip these. I don't mind clipping. Here's a look at a ship. It's not a double-sided unit. It's just a single unit, but kind of nice. Great detail. So there's a look at the counters. Like I said, 4 sheets of counters plus an errata counter. And this is the, I'm going to put this aside, but this is the mounted map. We're going to look at that here in a minute. Nice baggies. GMT always does a great job. You have standees for the leaders. Once again, harken back to Wilderness War, one of my favorite games. Here you have a bunch of dice for your combat, red and blue dice. I don't like rounded corner dice, but I know that's pretty standard anymore in games. They tend to just roll and roll and roll. And we've all had that very tense moment where you're rolling for whether you hit or whether you're being hit by your opponent. And that dice wants to spin and spin and spin, and you're like, come on. So I prefer square-sided or square-ended dice. As I mentioned, this is a card-driven game. There are 3 packs of cards. Let's look at the backs. Here I stand. Those are nice looking. We're going to go ahead and open these. But once again, a card-driven game, you're going to use the various cards in multiple ways. You can use the op value, which is usually printed up in this corner. Use that op value to activate, move, attack or do other things with units. Or you can use the event text, and you can see here, Janissaries. If you play this as an event, you're gonna gain 5 extra dice in a field battle. That's a lot of dice. Or 4 extra in a naval combat. Play after seeing both sides' rolls. So I guess you could roll, oh, I lost, I only needed 1 more hit or 2 more hits. You could then play Janissaries and throw extra dice in order to finish off that combat. Or it gives you an option of adding 4 new regulars or units to any combination of controlled Ottoman home space and or foreign war cards, not in Algiers. So you can see this is obviously written for the Ottoman Empire. It even says Ottoman home card. Here you've got a Habsburg home card, English, French. Here we go, patron of the arts. If Francis I is ruler and not captured or under siege, make a roll on the chateau table to attempt to earn VP and or additional cards. Here's a papal home card, another Leipzig debate. So there's one of those theological, religious debates that you're going to work on. Here's a cool card, Here I Stand, the namesake of the game. So you can see there's a lot of different cards, and both of these packs include those. Here are some what are called neutral cards. You can draw these, and they aren't necessarily benefiting specifically only one side or developed for a side. They're kind of general so that they can be used almost by all sides. I don't know what the turn, there is a turn designation in the upper right corner. I don't know if that's when you add these cards to the decks. I'll have to read the rules for that, so I apologize. But you can see they're little lower op values, but then they provide galleons. Place a galleons marker next to the colonies of England, France, or the Habsburg. All galleons results for that power to the New World Riches table now result in a bonus card, so kind of cool. Just gives you extra abilities. So there's a look at some of those cards. I'm not going to open all of those cards, but I did want to open, I think this is called I want to say it's called the personality deck. And I could be wrong on that, so please forgive me. Be kind in the comments. Diplomacy deck. Sorry, I was wrong. And these cards they don't have a name. That's your action deck, basically. So these are the diplomacy deck. So these are where you're going to get different personalities. French Constable invades. Corsair, well, they're events as well. They're not necessarily personalities. This one is a personality, Andrea Doria. But they have different events, Knights of St. John, Plague, and these are used during a diplomacy phase. There we go, the Spanish Inquisition. So there's a look at the diplomacy deck. I'm going to go ahead and put that there. I'm going to move the box out of the way, move everything to the side so that we can get a really good look at this beautiful mounted map. And I'm glad GMT decided with a larger mounted map. I'm glad they put this game into a 3-inch box. I know that some of their other games, they try to fit those mounted maps in a 2-inch box, and frankly, with cards and everything else that goes on, it can be very, very challenging to fit things in those boxes. So here's a look at the beautiful map, fantastic colors. Once again, it is a point-to-point movement map. So when you move, you're going to move through these lines to this area. Really great map. It obviously of Central Europe, France and Spain, England, and Italy, and the Habsburg Empire or Germany, as well as the Ottoman Empire over nearby Russia. There's a lot of information on this map. I really like these kinds of maps. In war games, typically, I feel like if you can fit these tables onto the game map itself, please do so. It makes the game so much more enjoyable to play and so much more easy to play. Here you can kind of see there's a New World map where you can do the exploration action. So these countries can send ships over and they can claim victory points for these various areas. Circumnavigation of the globe, you can see that right. I'll pull that up so you can see that right there. That's worth 3 victory points. The rest are 1 and 2. Also, as you move up to the left has to do with colonies and conquest. New World Riches table. So I think one of those cards mentioned roll on that table and you're going to have a better result. You can get cards, you can find other things. So that's cool. Over on the bottom of the map, you've got the victory point track. So you're going to track how that works out. These typically are the ending points. This says tournament. That's referring to the tournament scenario. So it looks like at 23 points, the game's going to come to an end. And during the 1517 and 1532, it's 25 points. So that's the turn track. You've got the North African coast over here and different information regarding what's going to happen on the different turns. Up here you have, this has got to be one of those more unique named tables in the history of war games. Henry's wife's pregnancy chart. So we all know one of the reasons Henry VIII killed so many of his wives was that he could not get a male heir, and his wives could not produce that male heir, and he would sometimes, because it's against Catholicism to get divorced at that time. It was one of those things, and they have a chart that covers that. That's pretty interesting. I'm really excited to see how that goes. You have a diplomatic status display at the top. You also have an electorate display right here, right in this area. Don't exactly know what that is, but I'm assuming you're trying to debate and control certain areas so that you have influence. Well, I'm going to tell you, this is a beautiful mounted map. It's huge. This is definitely a huge map. Going to be gorgeous when it's set out and put on the table. So that, my friends, is Here I Stand, Wars of the Reformation from GMT Games. I've been looking forward to this. I'm very excited. I know this video is a little bit longer, so I apologize. But if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like it. If you enjoy our channel and the type of content that we bring to you, go ahead and subscribe. That way you'll get notifications and be able to check out our new stuff. Also, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a different opinion about this game, if you have an experience that you would like to share, or if you're like me, haven't played it and are looking forward to it, I would love to hear somebody's maybe recommendations on strategies or ideas for how to start. I think this is going to be one of those games that I'm going to have so many options, so many choices, that there's going to be some analysis paralysis. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm truly excited for this. My guess is we won't get this to the table for the next 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks. The reason for that is we've got several other new games that we have recently received and or bought, and we're trying to get those played so that we can do videos as well as potentially do some written reviews. So this may take a while. I'm still working on Holland 44 that I got last month. I have played half of a short round or a short scenario by myself. I still want to play with Alexander. We just need some time. Life right now is very busy. It's getting near the holidays and the end of the year. So anyway, thanks for watching, and this has been Grant with the Player's Aid.